Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Gas South District's That's the Ticket, the ultimate podcast exploring all things Gas South District and a source for insights to events on campus and discussions on the wider entertainment and tourism industry. Please welcome the host of our show, Stan Hall, CEO of Gas South District and Explore Gwinnett.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of That's the Ticket podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, I am joined by Sarah Park, a passionate community builder and storyteller who's played a big role in highlighting the rich cultural diversity here in Gwinnett. Sarah recently wrapped up her time with Gwinnett County government, and she's stepping into a new season of service and connection. I'm glad to have her with us today to talk about what makes this community so special and where we go from here. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us. It's always good to see you.
Always. Thanks for having me. It's joy to be here.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, let's talk a little bit about Sarah Park. Your background includes time in local government, service on nonprofit boards, and community building work. What really has driven you to stay so engaged in Gwinnett's cultural landscape?
It always comes from a place of a gratitude, responsibility, and faith. I'm here because of others that made a space for me 12 years ago.
Yep.
You invited me to serve under your wing with Explore Gwinnett. And also, I believe in the loving your neighbor as yourself. Deep into my heart.
I know you
so
do.
That shapes how I serve, lead, and live, whether in government or nonprofit boards. And now through a new local coffee shop, I feel called to build a space where people are feel seen, welcome, and valued, and just grateful to be part of this amazing county and community.
Yeah. Sarah, I remember the first time I met you, and it has been a long time ago now. You and I met for a potential job that we were looking for some help. And I had no idea the day that I met you what a relationship would develop between you and I. Not only professionally, but personally, and my family, and your children and my children. So I feel blessed to have met you, and you remain a really important part of my life. So I appreciate you spending some time with me again today.
I feel the same.
So Sarah, you've played a very unique role in helping people connect across cultures here in Gwinnett. How did your time working in county government, how did that sort of shape your approach to building the community that we both live in?
So it's been a little bit around decade, starting with Explore Gwinnett, Sports Commission, and then on to a county government for another 6 years. It taught me how the system works and at a multiple level, federal, state, county, city, and also where they fell short. But in order to solve the problem, you have to work private, public, all sector across. So knowing the language, having a relationship, I think I've been blessed to have that decade of years within Quasi and the government institution. I often bridge the gap between department, different branches, our constituents, and our communities. I started with supporting elected officials, and I've also assisted department directors for communications and community engagement. And the county we serve is not a light job my directors do. So I've learned so much working with them, but also leading in community engagement effort and communication language access effort. I think I've built the trust and a presence for our communities that I was sort of being the bilateral communication channel from county to a constituent back to the county. So it was amazing space for me to was able to do that with my coworkers and a lot of talents and leadership. So I'm actually proud of that. I had that years built in me that I'm going to continue be part of Gwinnett, but just at a different role. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, I want to talk a little bit about Gwinnett County and the diversity that we have in this county. Tell us a little bit about your journey. Your country that is probably where your story actually starts at, and then how we got to where we are today. So before we get into the county portion of it.
Sure. So I was born and raised from South Korea, and South Korea is one of the leading investment partner, economic partner of U.S. and state of Georgia. Compares to Hawaii or New York or California, Georgia does have a shorter history of immigration, but in that short amount of time made a huge impact with all the infrastructure that are here. There are about 150,000 Korean people, Georgia home. Korean is the third most spoken language after Spanish. And all that, like all the sectors of life, every corners, there are Korean community members or Korean community are part of what we are building and making here. So proud to call Georgia. I used to hear a lot, what are you doing in Georgia? Because they see us as like a southern state or Gwinnett as a suburban or area. But now we are leading and people trying to benchmark us. So we knew what's coming. We worked for it. So I'm proud of where Georgia is today. And who knew that I'll be serving as a sort of liaison and a voice to both sides, that bridging the gap. Yeah.
And, you, Cora, obviously you live here in Georgia, live in Gwinnett, but I've always been very impressed with the connections you've kept with South Korea. You still have family there. Talk about how often do you go, et cetera. So
I go back once a year to see my grandparents and family. My children, who are 9 and 3, been to Korea multiple times already. And I go there for like a business trip too, or a missional trip as well. And Korea and Georgia kind of evolved together, I think, and that I've seen so much impactful work that came out of great partnership. And I've also served on a couple organizations that was appointed by the Korean different Department of Ministries to be as a advisory person, and also got to serve here in Georgia and U.S. and doing the similar work. So glad my parents called Georgia home when they first immigrated to U.S.
So am I. I'm glad they did as well. So, Sarah, in your view, what is it about Gwinnett that makes our diversity so distinctive, and how have you seen it show up in daily life here?
It shows up naturally in our daily life, and it's at our stores, school, businesses, at our park, a library. It's everywhere. And to our young people and next generation, it's just like everyday life to them. You hear multiple languages, you celebrate different cultures with your neighbors. You don't have to go far. Like it happens at your neighborhood, and school does a great job. Government does a great job. Tourism does great job promoting that. So it's a part of our life. And to us, it's not a number, but it's not something you mark on a calendar like May as Asian American Heritage Month or Hispanic Latino Heritage Month. It's our daily life, and it's a lived experience. So, and now Gwinnett is the most diverse county in the nation. So it's a part of our life. It comes with a lot of like million-dollar questions and problems to solve. But because we are doing it together, I know Gwinnett will be far ahead of compared to others.
With some of the business partners we have at Gas South District, and maybe through some of our other things that we do with Explore Gwinnett, as you said, I've had the opportunity to meet many people from Korea who have been here for events we have here. And I've heard them say many times how surprised they were with that Korean presence here in Gwinnett, not just because they're here, but it's here every day. And I think that's significant as well.
Yes. Other cities and states, they're more scattered. But here, because of our amazing infrastructures and land and great living standard, they're a group like just a part of cities and county. So we benefit a whole lot from that infrastructures we have. There's always choices for educations or business. There are so many, and grateful for that.
Sarah, when whether it was working within the county government or in the broader community, what strategies of efforts stood out to you as truly impactful in bridging cultures and communities?
The most impactful effort can be centered around trust and share leadership, not just the relationship. Real changes happen when community members are not just invited to the table. That alone is difficult and challenging, but they have to be invited in a process when you're making decisions as well. And also not feel like they're welcome or invited, but also empowered to lead and contribute together, which is $1 million questions, right? Like civic engagement.
Yes.
But we have to solve it together through giving opportunity for people to experience and share our sense of responsibility. I think that's one of the big key, from like language access to leadership development, and also not included at the end of the process, but in the planning process. I think that is important. And also I think it's good to know that diversity is just not of a number or data or trend that we have to check the box. And it's just also not just a race.
Right.
It's about lived experience, age, background, so many different aspects of our life, of our constituents and our people around us. So it is not like one group issues to solve or figure it out, or it's not like one problem that the community has, and then you come down to like percentage of number of people, and then think about what make most sense to contribute how much money. But then it's not like 1 + 1 = 2 when it comes to finding answers, diversity. It takes investment, collaboration, commitment from all sides. And when we build the community, it is not for the community, but it's with the community.
Right.
And I think having that mindset and making decision with that mindset, I think it does help.
Yeah.
And also, once again, not just being welcome or invited or have a seat at the table, but empowered to lead or empowered to take part in, empowered to take a risk together.
Yeah.
I think that's what it needs to be happening. It's happening, but I think we are also not meeting the need. I think needs are greater. I think needs are greater, and whole countries looking at us. So there are a lot to be done.
So let's talk about that a little bit, Sarah. Obviously, we've made great progress that has led us to keep up with our diversity as far as as you said, the way of life people enjoy here in Gwinnett. But there are still challenges that exist when it comes to inclusion and representation in a community as diverse as Gwinnett. Have you seen that as well?
Yes. Sometimes like people think diversity is enough, and we like pop champagnes like we're the most diverse county or Georgia is thriving, which is good. There's a time for that.
Yes.
But I think without a true representation or access to resources, I think that's still a lot of work to be done. And this is not just the resource and need for a specific group or specific number of people, is for all our age group, all our people around us and our neighbor. So looking at it in that sense is important to even figure out what challenges and needs are at the table. Also, there's still room to improve when decisions are being made, because it's usually decisions are already made and then it is presented to the community, and then community has a lot of opinions and feedback, but then it also kind of looked at as just the feedback. But then it's a little too late. And also it doesn't give enough time for us to improve or make doing it innovative way. So pressure to keep up can make it hard to pause and listen and innovate. But real equity takes intention, and sometimes we have to do just enough of a celebration and also the work that needs to be done, and also do a study.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked a little bit in the opening and the introduction of you about the topic of storytelling. And, storytelling can mean anything, but You have written and spoken about the power of storytelling and connecting people across cultures. Why do you think storytelling works so well, especially in a place like Gwinnett?
As we all know, like stories touch everyone's heart, and it goes over the barriers and boundaries because
Mhm.
it's a shared experience, and it helps us to connect before we try to convince one another. So I think it's very powerful tool. And place like Gwinnett, I'm so proud because it's like no one story dominates the other. Even within immigrant community or underrepresented community, I think we've done a great job of bringing voices and stories together, and we
Mhm.
are going to that direction. So uh, we can build bridges without losing our individual voices with that. So storytelling in that is so important because it
Mhm.
builds a trust relationship, and you can put yourself in their shoes. And also working with people who are different from you is different from accepting them.
Mhm.
You can work and serve however many you want, but without really asking questions or spend time with them to understand and also be prepared to accept their answers, than just a feedback or the side story. I think that attitude doesn't easily come without training. So through sharing our stories, I think we can train ourselves to break down our barriers, our assumptions, or our stereotypes. Yeah,
Stereotypes, yeah.
through
Mhm.
storytelling. So
Yeah,
it's very powerful tool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, we always think about that aha moment when we talk
Mm.
about stuff, but is there a particular moment, whether through your work with the county government or nonprofit or community, whatever it might be, that reminded you why this work, why it really matters?
Mm. After several local or national tragic events, I often find myself being healed at these uh, communal event or healing events, right? And then people just show up from all the paths of life, different religion, different race, or different just socioeconomic level, just difference.
Yeah.
People coming together to just um, moan together, stand together, rather than asking for agreement or pointing fingers. I just love having these because sometimes can be another current news. It can be just a data because it happens all the time. But after these tragic events, whenever people show up to support and give dignity and respect to those who are impacted or victimized or all those events, and that's not just for a specific group or is for all human race, because a lot of the times our vulnerable populations are exposed to senseless violence
Hmm.
or
We've seen it
unfair,
here in
yeah,
Atlanta.
yeah,
So,
and unfair
mhm.
like transaction and
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah.
And for community to stand together, it really kind of those are the moments that reminds me that connection, and the power not comes from just agreement, but from like shared dignity for
Right,
one another,
right.
giving respect and
Just
space to one
respect.
another. Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. It's, people sometimes look at a topic like we're talking about today, and it's just sometimes it seems like it's so large and overwhelming to try to really get involved in that topic. And when you think about that, how can individuals and organizations take small but meaningful steps to foster cultural understanding in their everyday spaces?
Mm,
I remember when you worked for me, one of my favorite parts of the day, even though it was never planned, is we would get into some conversation about something. It would always lead to a topic that knew a whole lot about, that I knew that much about, but just sitting and listening made me grow and learn more and more about you, about your culture, about you as a person. How can people do that?
I think you do such a great job asking question. Just asking question and be open to accept the response or try to
Yeah.
understand. I think that's really good. And just be curious beyond the title or their children's or their day.
Hmm.
Um, just ask them about their stories, ask them about what they care about, ask them about their hopes and their needs. And I think that can go far and show up at events that are not of your own. And yes, you and I, we organize and host a lot of events and take a lot of time, but it's because we also understand we go to other events, and oftentimes you are sort of the minority, right? Either by age or by color of your skin, or just different diversity. So being in that moment, not just for photos or not just for a handshake, or not to find someone that can connect you with that group, I think being fully present at a different event, to show up and be uncomfortable because you're the minority, that goes with me as well. A lot of times,
I've
I've
seen it. I've seen it many times.
Yes. So I think that's important. And listen more than speak, because if you don't listen, you don't get much out of that person, right? We all have something to learn from one another. And also advocate for someone that is not your table. And also invite new people to the table. If you've been hanging around with your choir or same person over and over, that's also impactful in a way. But I think I see myself in my stage of life that I think it's time for me to invite different people to the table. Not only like I go out and make relationship, or the group that I'm part of can build a relationship through this person, and that opens door to different ways. So I think that's another way to do it. And then build memories together, not just work. You can say we serve however many people, but then if you don't really have a fun memories with them, it doesn't really become personal. Spend time with ways that leave a mark to you personally, not like transactional work. And you do not need a title or experience to build a community. You just need to care, right? And then you actually know if that person really care, not until you really ask them. So I think I've said many things, but you're really good at doing those.
Well, I don't know about that, but what I was going to say is you talked about those scenarios where you are the minority, and you and I have done that separately, and you and I have done that together. Maybe I've gone to something with you, and by going with you, there was an immediate acceptance about who is this guy with Sarah, and conversation ensued, relationships ensued, and just the reverse of that, where you've gone to me with things and people would say, who is that girl with Stan? And what's her story? And then
you opened a lot
same
of
thing, conversations ensued.
Yes.
So that's a great way to do it. You talked about moving into your next phase of life and sort of the things that you're looking forward to. Are there certain lessons from your time here in Gwinnett County are you carrying forward as you take on new projects and partnerships?
I think for me right at this moment is being present, fully present is matter more than being perfected in things. Oftentimes I get carried away with just trying hard, or being the loudest voice for myself and others. But then it does have a limitation. So I am making space right now in my life to be around with people more so that I can be fully present and just prepared to listen.
Instead of looking at your watch like I've got to be back at work, which you've done that many times.
Yes. And also it is about staying rooted and be with people in a steady pace. I think that's the lesson. And also walking with purpose and the principles that you stand on, not move away too much from it. And also protecting space for others to grow and lead. Because I think that we have a lot of great leaders, but I don't know if everybody's doing a great job of doing the pipeline or succession plan,
of course,
which I think I should really work on, because oftentimes I get so busy on just doing what I'm responsible for well and in perfect way, but I can be only limited. And if I can help support the group or support
The
more,
larger
yeah,
picture.
like a bench member,
Yeah.
bench member
Yeah.
that can also grow and lead. I think providing that opportunity can be more impactful than just doing the job well, just doing the job at the however time I'm allowed to do,
Yeah.
and we have a short time.
Exactly. One thing, Sarah, you know about me, I've had the great opportunity throughout my career to have great leadership positions. I really am a student of leadership. It's one of the most fascinating topics to me. But when you think about you, what does leadership look like to you in our community, one that we've already talked about that's so very diverse? And how can local leaders grow in cultural awareness as well as humility toward that very topic?
Yeah, you mentioned it. I think the hardest one and most important one is the humility. It means you listen first.
Yep.
And you learn constantly and letting others to lead. And that means support other leaders when they cannot come 100%, sort of like partnership, right? That you kind of pull them in or wait for them, give them space to serve. So I think having that accountability amongst the leaders, I think, is also important, and also kind of giving them space to lead, but also when they cannot lead, rather than um, evaluate them on their performance, give them space so that they can go back and then come back with their full self. And leadership in diversity setting has to be shared. It can't be done by just one giant leader. Traditionally, we lean on that, and they made a great effort. But now, the stage we're in, we just have to have different leadership style, not one, but share leadership. Different age, different community, different background, different experience. So we need to ask better questions of what type of leaders that we are supporting, and putting them into places and make spaces for new voices. They're willing to take a risk. We have a lot of good managers, but do we really have people who's willing to take a risk to pivot or to bring innovative type of work? So willing to shift and know when to come in, when to not come in as a leader. I think that's important. And also, some leaders just come in different forms of their personalities and season in life, and not one person has to hold all the weight or 10. So if your surrounding of a leadership is looking the same for many years, I think we kind of have to pause and ask, like, what can we do it differently?
I think one of the things that makes me optimistic about our county continuing to even evolve more from a diversity perspective is, and not to get into politics, but politics and political are two very different words who mean two. So I want to talk about the political side of it, not people's politics, if you will. But have you noticed from an elected official position, are you encouraged by the diversity you see in the political representation of our county based on that very sense of diversity that we brag about all the time?
We've been celebrating the first of many.
Yes, of course.
But we are also at a situation that can be the last too. Do we really know that's going to continue or not? Are we going to supportive of one another? And are we going to give a safety net for these newly stepped up leaders to stay there in order to make mistakes or in order to try different things? Or are they under big pressure, like, okay, now is your chance to give the best you've got, and then we'll move on, So I think we have to look into, are we really giving safety net for these leaders to work together, make mistakes, and do better for the greater number of people? And also, diversity shouldn't be just because that person represents or may look like the other person. The person has to think of all needs, right? All needs, but understanding and have expertise in a different experience life. And I think we don't really get there. Like, we get mature as we age or through our challenges and experiences and things like that. And we have to give each other sort of a grace to come in when they can, and also be okay to go out and come back. sort of like bench. So
Yeah.
that will
Yeah.
be the hope that I would like to see. I don't think I've seen that yet.
Yeah.
We have amazing
Yeah.
players. We
Yeah.
have amazing players. And now Georgia does have the most number of API, Asian American Pacific Islander elected official in the nation. But once again, that's just a number, and that's just a first celebration. And when I talk about diversity, once again, it's not about race. It's
Yeah.
not about just
No.
ethnicity. It's about live, experience life. So we made a progress, but we're so like early in this stage that is kind of embarrassing.
Well,
to me
you said it
personally.
best, and I hadn't thought about it in that term, but you said we've had a lot of the first celebrations, all of which deserve celebration. But I think the success of Gwinnett County and the continued involvement will be when that second, third, fourth person is elected, and that's not even mentioned anymore, because it's a great thing that person is elected, but it's so far removed from the time that first person. Here you are 5-6 generations in, and we're just electing people because of whatever that might be, and that is going to be the true sense of success for us, and I hope we are headed in that way. Sort of staying on topic about where's Sarah going down the road. Are there projects or passions that you're especially excited to explore now that you've stepped into this new season as you've described?
I got a lot of questions when I was stepping away from government. What's next? What's the next opportunity? Currently, I don't have one, and I have a freedom within that.
Yeah, I bet.
It's a season of slowing down and showing up for others just differently, not by a project or just a task or wanting to do better, but just to be there, just to be there, spending more time with family, my neighbors, continuing to grow the local coffee shop that I recently started. But not only that, helping with all this community resource project that I was able to start and build, but wasn't able to fully commit. And also, I guess I was more focused on storytelling piece and equity, and also be okay with continuing to stay neutral and behind the scene, because I think a lot can be done in a long way of time. In order to do that, I want to focus on more of a building bench and bench member, and walk across the aisles and walk across the generations. In order to do that, I need to learn more of others, what they think and what their needs are, rather than what I think is best for them or can be a quick fix. So I'm going to focus on just be available. I guess availability over ability.
There you go.
Because I can be quick to just tied to a ability. What can I get done today? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about your time here in Gwinnett. You, based on various positions you've been in, based on your own personal life, et cetera, you've seen many aspects of Gwinnett's cultural richness. Do you have a favorite tradition or event that you really think captures the spirit of the county for you and for all of us?
Definitely Mitsubishi Electric Classic.
Thank you very much for that commercial. I appreciate that.
I never missed a year. I like the convention that happens here because it brings all the experts and workforce from the nations and internationally. So I love that. What's happening here, not just to promote our great guest house, but I love that. I like Duluth Fall Festival. I like Korean Festival, where different community comes together. It takes a lot of work to even put out that, like these foundation exists to put that 1 day event or 2-3 days event, and they work like even typically
exactly.
Classic,
It's a big ordeal.
It's like
for
knowing
sure.
that and seeing that in my neighborhood. Seeing that is just more than experience. It's just more of a coming from gratitude, like,
there you go.
I'm part of this community. So
absolutely,
those events,
big part of it.
Yeah.
And Sarah, you've lived and worked here. What do you think that outsiders often miss about Gwinnett? We brag about Gwinnett a lot. You and I do, and our county folks here, we brag about it. What do you wish that more people really understood about the community fabric of Gwinnett?
People are late in the game, right? Now they're like starting to hear about Gwinnett.
We've known about it,
we
right?
knew about it. Yes, generations know about it. So people think sometimes Gwinnett is sort of like a suburban area. They don't see, they see you kind of got lucky to get here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, actually, there's been a generation of leaderships and great community members that really work hard, where it can be a place of everyone to thrive. And this is where even immigrant communities build legacies here. And young leaders emerge. We have amazing young leaders
I
here
agree.
that
Yep.
are not, in the past, we were kind of forced to go out or leave our state. But now they have a job market here. They have a missional work here where they can stay and live forever. So I'm proud of that. And also, we move at our own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And politically, all kinds of issues, we walk across the aisle. We move together. That's why we tend to walk slow pace. But I always proudly tell others whenever I travel out for work or personal reason, I always explain to them, Gwinnett is a figuring out how to work and putting out our differences.
Yeah.
And not many places are kind of able to do that at this moment in this current climate. So that alone is a huge potential and power that where Gwinnett can thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And also trusting the process and trusting the leadership, not to really quick on changes, because systematic changes does need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Methodical changes also
Yeah.
needed, but
Right.
changes come at time and cost, and Gwinnett is working on that. So we may not be the loudest, but we have a good people here. We have
We
a good
do.
talent, and we are also now more than ever, people are moving into Gwinnett. So we are definitely will be benefiting from that. So, and this is by far a very few place where multiple generation can thrive together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what people need to know. If you value community, family, or faith, or your work and career, like Gwinnett and Georgia is one of the most balanced place, and also there's work for you to do
Mm-hmm.
as a community. So I think that's, people need to know that.
So, Sarah, as we end our conversation today, I think I'm going to end it the way we started it, and I almost harken back again to that very first time I met you, and I'm sitting here listening to you today, and then I'm just thinking back the first time I met you, a young woman who impressed me as being somewhat bashful. Conversation, you were very interested in the questions and very careful about the answers, and to think about seeing how you have evolved since that first time I met you. We talked about the diversity in Gwinnett County, but just talking about the relationship that you and I have evolved into a leader in the county. Evolved into someone who is so well respected based on the cultural history that you bring, and someone who is so well respected by people maybe like me who are 7 generations here just in Gwinnett County. So congratulations to you. Thank you for the friendship, again, personally and professionally, that you've given to me and my family. And I'm just happy that the day I met you, I'm happy that it's turned into what it has over these years. So
thanks for taking chance on me 12 years ago. Thanks for believing in me. Thanks for just being there when I was putting my best performance and when I was not. And you were just there to support me, and also many trusting me because the relationship we have. And so I'm grateful for you, and I just wish more people can have someone like you that opens a door for others and just be there and supportive and not trying to kind of control it or make the way that they know is the best.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah, thank you for joining us, for the heart you've brought to Gwinnett, and not just in your past role, but in the way you continue to lead through your service and connection. Your reflections are a great reminder that diversity isn't just something we talk about, but it's something that we actually celebrate every day in Gwinnett. And the more we celebrate that together, the stronger and more united our community becomes. And I'll I'll end this today by telling you something I've told you many, many times before. I love you very much, and thank you for being
Same.
here.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Be sure to check out GasSouthDistrict.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. You can find all episodes of Gas South District, That's the Ticket, wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll return soon for another episode of That's the Ticket. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. For show notes and further information about Gas South District and upcoming events, please visit our website at GasSouthDistrict.com. That's the Ticket.